look, while also making it easier to grip without slipping. The phone is available in 4 colors: obsidian, jasmine, garnet red, and natural gold. The garnet red version I checked out 15mm ultra-wide lens with a 1.156-inch sensor and f2.0 aperture, along with a 24mm wide-angle camera using a larger 1.135-inch sensor and f1.9 aperture. There's also a brand new periscope system designed for both telephoto and macro photography at 70mm. In-hand feel and build quality are noticeably different this time, and that's something. When it comes to hardware, aside from the upgraded processor, the biggest highlight is definitely the camera system. The telephoto sensor has become 4 times larger than before. If you follow smartphone hardware closely, you'll know that a telephoto lens larger than 1.56 inches is considered huge for this category. What's impressive is that Sony still managed to keep the phone relatively slim without making the camera bump overly massive. But at the end of the day, what really matters is image quality, and we'll be fully testing the Xperia VIII Mark VIII's camera performance along with all of its shooting features and software experience. Looking at the design, Sony has finally moved away from the vertical triple camera layout they've used for several generations. This time, the lenses are arranged in a new L-shaped design. The main camera sits in the top left corner, the ultra-wide lens is positioned on the side, and the periscope telephoto lens is placed below. With this new arrangement, it feels like Sony can use the back panel space much more efficiently. The horizontal internal structure, a signature Xperia feature over the years. The Mark towards a business-style appearance, while 1.56-inch main camera sensor, which is seriously impressive for a telephoto lens. One major advantage of this larger sensor is that in more challenging lighting situations, the phone can use faster shutter speeds. That becomes incredibly useful when photographing people, animals, or anything moving quickly. For example, on a cloudy day with limited sunlight, using the 2.9x telephoto lens, the camera was still able to achieve a shutter speed of around 1/640th of a second. That's fast enough to completely freeze a butterfly mid-flight while its wings are flapping. The results are extremely sharp, with the butterfly perfectly in focus while the background naturally falls out of focus with a pleasing bokeh effect. The subject's separation looks distance. The closest focusing distance on this telephoto lens is now 15 centimeters compared to 4 centimeters on the previous generation. Even though the focus distance is technically longer now, the upgraded sensor and the ability to achieve 5.8x lossless zoom make extreme close-up macro photography improves night performance. Shadow areas remain bright enough without losing detail, while highlights stay controlled even in scenes with extremely bright light sources. Highlight details are preserved very well. Sony processes light. The image has a very three-dimensional feel. Although the highlights retain detail, they don't look overly compressed or flat, so the image still keeps a natural sense of transparency, and 5.8x zoom levels has also noticeably improved transparency. This scene also gives us a good stay rich and dark while maintaining strong contrast. At the same time, highlights remain fully preserved even when shooting at the 5.8x lossless zoom level. Reflections on water surfaces also appear very dim. The long vertical camera module has been part of Xperia's identity for years, giving the phones a clean and minimalist appearance. Since Sony rarely changed the overall design from one generation to the next, many people felt that Sony had already decided this is our perfect design philosophy. But this year, Sony surprised everyone with a major redesign. The biggest change is the new square-shaped camera module. On top of that, Sony also introduced fresh color options and different material textures. After speaking with Sony, I realized that even though the Xperia VIII Mark VIII looks very different, the thinking behind the redesign still feels very Sony. When I first saw the square camera setup, I was honestly caught off guard. Naturally, I asked Sony why they moved away from the old design and why the camera module wasn't positioned at the very top anymore. Sony explained that the redesign mainly happened because of the upgraded camera hardware. The telephoto sensor is now 4 times larger than before. To fit this more advanced hardware while still keeping the phone slim and balanced, they had to rethink the internal layout and overall body structure. There's also another practical benefit. Since the ultra-wide camera now sits at the top, it's less likely that your fingers accidentally enter the frame when you're shooting horizontally. So while the new layout may take a little time to get used to, the overall body design, texture, and details still carry that unmistakable Sony character. And honestly, the camera performance looks very promising so far. I'll show you real-world footage later in the video, so definitely stay tuned for that. The Xperia 1 Mark VIII comes in 4 colors: black, red, silver, and gold. Yes, Sony actually released silver and gold version. Color has a matte textured finish. It avoids looking flashy or cheap, but it's definitely a color that requires confidence to pull off. And red are exactly what you'd expect from Sony, classic and understated. But the silver and gold are definitely more surprising. The silver version has a soft sky blue tone to it, so instead of looking plain silver, it feels fresher and more youthful and timeless. The red, however, is very different from Sony's brighter reds from the past. This time, it's a deeper, darker red with a more mature feel. Out of all 4 colors, the red is actually my favorite, and I have a feeling most long headphone jack, the physical camera shutter button, and the side-mounted fingerprint scanner. Micro SD card support is still here too, which is becoming increasingly rare nowadays. Now, there's both good news and bad news regarding the SIM setup. The good news is that the Xperia 1 Mark VIII card before, then you were limited to 1 physical SIM. With the addition of eSIM support, the new setup actually feels pretty reasonable. And considering how expensive phone storage is becoming these days, keeping expandable micro SD support is still a huge advantage. By the way, I'm curious, do you still use micro SD cards? Let me know in the comments below. Now that we've covered the design and Sony's core philosophy, let's move on to the 4th point, the telephoto upgrade. This is probably the biggest hardware upgrade this year because Sony trying something fresh this year. I'm really curious to see how longtime Sony fans react to this new direction. Personally, I think the redesign still...
So let's test this out. So that's the 1X, and he's moving as soon as I brought the camera. Let's go 5. Okay, right here. Upgrade with the new Snapdragon chip. It now actually utilizes a new raw multi-frame technology for much better HDR performance. Is there better Sony AI assistant, which appears in this little pop-up window whenever you're taking a photo. Essentially, when you're lining up a shot, you can choose the perfect color profile that you want for that particular shot. So you can quickly reference these little tiles, choose the one that matches your scene perfectly, and at this point you can either choose to go for something that looks very true to what you see with your eyes, or you can stylize it. It's entirely up to you. But they have made this super easy to do, and I do appreciate this. Something else that's really nice about the auto feature, which allows you to track a subject within the field of view, and essentially the Xperia will crop into part of the field of view to keep that subject perfectly framed at the center. Again, this is another awesome creator tool. The Pro Photo and Video modes are still one of these phones up,